Hello, everyone. Welcome to Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville once again for another edition of the Al Holland Show. For the next half hour, we'll talk University of Pikeville Bears football. Bears players are in the house. Bears fans are in the house. More importantly, the Bears coach is in the house. Al Holland Jr. joins me for this edition of the Al Holland Show, where we'll talk to you Pike football. Last week's game with one of the top 5 teams in the country, Reinhardt, Georgia. What an opponent, tremendous team. And Cumberland University coming up this week. We'll preview that. We'll meet one of the Bears coaches and another of the Bears players as well. Coach Al Holland joins me now. Coach Reinhardt, of course, out of Georgia, top 5 team in the country, and they're every bit of a top 5 team.
They are. They're a good football team, and got a great football program, great football coach. Close friend of mine, and it's great to see him. He's coming off a Achilles injury as a coach, and it's a little bit tough for him playing pickup basketball with his staff this past spring. So, wishing him well in his recovery. But, a tough game at home. We didn't play well at all, didn't show up, and just from the get-go, turned the ball over early, missed some tackles early on in the football game, and, it was a tough one to swallow. Thought we was well prepared and ready to go, but, just right out the gate, we just wasn't there, ready to rock and roll and get after it on game day. And you got to be ready to go versus top 5 team. You can't come out of the gates slow. You got to come out of the gates fast and be ready to go. And we did this time last year at their place and gave them a run for their money. Sure. And this year, we just sort of laid an egg at home. And but the guys didn't quit. They fought the second half there. Continued to fight, but just dug too big of a hole to even make anything happen.
You said in one of your post-game quotes, it was disheartening.
It was.
The turnovers, the things like that, the fundamentals
right.
that get away from a team being 50-some points better than
right.
you, and that can be disheartening. How has this team adjusted in practice this week?
We got back at it this morning. We went back to the fundamentals. We went old school, as I say. We went out to our old practice field, no lights on the field, turned on the bus lights, turned on the headlights of the vehicles, and just got after and going 2-on-2 football, blocking, tackling, and just, getting back to the fundamentals of the game that we love to play. We appreciate it so much, and sometimes you take it for granted. We got to get back to those fundamentals, and that's going to hopefully help and pay off for us here in weeks to come.
Games are won in the trenches,
That's
blocking
right.
and tackling. Reinhardt 62-7 winners over the Bears on Saturday at the Hamley Complex, and we'll take a look at some highlights from that matchup. Of course, the Bears on the road this Saturday, but first we'll put Reinhardt to bed as we take a look at last week's highlights.
We're starting the Bear walk there pregame and starting to grow a little bit, and it's been good for us. Here's the early play by Ramon Morris. Nice pick in the end zone here. Had a solid day for us out there at corner. They didn't throw the ball much, but, when they did. This was the early pass early on in the game. Mike Howard, Bowen Smith made a nice play down the field and makes another nice throw to Whitmore here across the middle. Whitmore continues to come along. We just got to have some more leadership out of him and continue to watch him grow. Bowen here with his first rushing touchdown here of the season. Here's Bradley Cleveland making a tackle early in the ball game. Tip ball here. Thought Demir had a great day punting the football. If there's one guy that stood out for us, it was him. Punting the ball 8 times. This ball was down inside the 5. You don't want to see your punter out there that much, but, did a good job for us. Shannon Patrick to Anthony Brown. Anthony had a nice catch here late in the ball game for us. Was moving it down the field. A bunch of Bears there in on a tackle. Here's Exandre Willis with a nice run. He's continuing to improve for us. Got to get him some more touches throughout the game and get a variety of those different backs that we have out there for us. As you can tell, they just ran the football time after time again. And, we got to get back to work, and we got back to it this morning, and we got to continue to grow as a football team and work on those fundamentals.
And you still have time to do that because
yes.
After Bluefield in the season opener in the East Division game, these are not East
right.
Division games, and they don't affect your playoff standing.
It's wide open right now. Cumberland's was preseason number 2. I don't know where Union was in the preseason rankings, and Union knocks them off last week on the road. So, this thing's wide open as we go down the stretch. But, we got one more game here, non-conference, and then we got an off week. So, 2 big weeks for us right here. Not only to try to let's get a win and get some momentum going into the off week, but getting healed up as well. But we got to get things on the right track going into that homecoming game October 15th.
Take care of fundamentals.
That's right.
Back to the basics. It's the Coach Al Holland Show. It is presented by Appalachian Wireless as we come to you live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville every Tuesday evening at this time. We'll step out. We'll meet one of the Bears players. You'll meet one of the Bears assistant coaches as well. Coach Al Holland will rejoin us shortly as we'll preview Cumberland U. It's all coming up on the Al Holland Show. Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville. It is the Al Holland Show where we talk University of Pikeville Bears football. We'll be rejoined by the head coach of your U-Pike Bears, Coach Al Holland, in just a little while. We'll preview the next matchup with Cumberland University. Also, you'll meet a member of the Bears coaching staff. But now we'll step into the Bears den. Time to meet one of the U-Pike players, and joined now by Darius Green, a 5'9" sophomore defensive back out of Hollywood Hills, Florida. Darius, welcome to the Coach Al Holland Show.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. Before we talk football, let's talk academics. You're a student athlete. Student comes first.
Yes, sir.
What's your academic major?
Communications.
Communications.
Yes, sir.
All right. What kind of the plans do you have for the future then?
The plans is either to be a head coach or a sports broadcaster, somewhere around that field.
See, I get nervous when I talk to you guys that are majoring in communications because I hear that there are a lot of you guys that major that way that want to go into broadcasting. Going to take my job.
I don't want to take your job. It's just,
it just comes with the territory.
It just comes with the territory.
Comes with the territory. Former star athlete, then goes to the broadcast booth. You mentioned possibly a head coaching job. Obviously, you've got a passion for the game if you want to go into broadcasting or coaching. Where did that develop? When did you first learn that you had a love for this game?
Ever since I was young, I just always followed football. My dad always told me that if football was a class in the school, I do great in it because I know everything.
Right.
Just.
When did you start playing?
I started playing from the age of 4.
Really?
Yes.
So you're playing the little pee-wee games. Mm-hmm. When did you first put on pads?
I first put on pads. My dad said I used to try to put on my big cousin's pads when I was like 2 and 3.
Right.
So
it's always been a part of your life.
Yes.
Talk about a football influence for you. It's been a part of your life for that long. Your dad's been around as well. Was he some of that influence? Was it a particular coach maybe that said, I could play this at the next level?
My influence, I had older cousins. Travis Green, University of Bowling Green, Teddy Bridgewater from the Vikings.
Yeah.
So it's always been someone in our family that always gave me that motivation and want to keep going. So
very good. Teddy Bridgewater, he's been banged up a little bit.
Yeah.
He'll be back soon.
He'll be back.
He'll be back soon.
Yes,
Darius Green in the secondary with this U-Pike team made the game-winning touchdown save on a tackle against Bluefield. And a great memory from the season opener. After 2 or 3 games, some people had forgotten that. I remember it well because that was an important win in the East Division. You guys took one on the chin Saturday. What's been the mood around the team and in practice after Saturday's loss?
Coach Holland's mood, it was just to get us going, to bounce back. And that's a head coach's job, so I understand where he was coming from. But from the players' aspect, we were just trying to find some leaders, trying to find someone who's going to step up and take that role and lead the team.
Very good. Cumberland U, of course, coming up next. Tough road trip. Do you see this team bouncing back against Cumberland U?
Yes, sir. I think we're going to bounce back harder than ever.
Very good. And, of course, looking for leaders. You've become one of those. Just a sophomore, but you've become one of those in the secondary. One of those guys that seems to provide energy when you're on the field. Have you always been that way as a player, even in high school?
Yes, sir. In high school, I played quarterback, so I was the vocal, energized bunny on the team.
Right. And you make the switch from quarterback to defensive back here at the University of Pikeville. How tough was that transition?
It wasn't that tough at all. It's always something I wanted to play. It's always something I wanted to do.
as a defensive back? Are you one of those guys that can play your position, see the quarterback's eyes, and know what he's thinking because you've been in those shoes?
Sometimes I can, and sometimes it's just like let me stick to Coach Williams' system.
Very good.
So.
Darius Green, 5'9" sophomore defensive back out of Hollywood Hills, Florida, our guest on the Al Holland Show. Good luck Saturday against Cumberland U and the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Darius Green, you'll see him in the secondary for your U-Pike Bears. We'll step out, take a break. When we come back, you'll meet one of the assistant coaches. It's the Al Holland Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. We are live from Buffalo Wild Wings. Join us here. Welcome back to the Al Holland Show, brought to you live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless. I'm Andrew Joyce, and now joined by a member of the Bears coaching staff. Andrew Susi joins us now. Coach, welcome to the Al Holland Show.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Assistant coach, your responsibility, the D-line. You've got some of those guys here today.
Yeah, they're all here. They're all here having a good time.
Before we talk about last Saturday and football in general, let's talk about your playing days, because you had a career yourself and you became acquainted with Al Holland. Talk about that.
Well, me and Coach Holland got to Eastern Kentucky University at the same time, 2006, where he transferred in from Wake Forest. And, we didn't really see each other a lot because I was a red shirt and he was quarterback trying to win a starting job.
Sure.
But over the next 2 years, we really got close, and just football minds alike. Me and him kind of think the same way, whether it be the little things that get us through things and the championship mentality that we have is common similarities that we have.
Are some of those thoughts, those similar thinking from playing in the same program, some things that you learned playing in the same system?
Yeah, I think it does. You get traditions,
sure,
different places that you play in. And he's been part of a lot of winning championship
right.
teams, and I wasn't so successful in high school, so being a part of a traditional program like Eastern was really big for me coming out in that aspect
sure.
of life.
How do you take the things you learned as a player? How have they transitioned into the way you coach?
Well, I always tell the guys that are here, they can tell you how many times I quote my D-line coach,
right.
and all the things that I know I made mistakes and things like that, and I can already tell them kind of what they were thinking, and it kind of blows their mind a little bit, saying, you really did go through this stuff. And yeah, it's the same exact game that it was when I played.
Sure.
So,
and it seems to be the same at no matter whatever level you're at, whether it's Pee-wee, junior high, high school, college, or even at the next level professionally. It just changes speed, but there are a lot of truths in those. You guys got back to those truths today on the practice field. Coach Al Holland said after a 62-7 loss, we're getting back to the basics, blocking, tackling, fundamentals.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Oh, absolutely. We had a very intense morning this morning, and we kind of told the guys, hey, obviously we need to go back and do the little things more correct, and we need to get back to the base roots and the fundamentals, and really when it comes down to it, we need to have more fun.
Sure.
When you don't have intensity, you don't have excitement about something that you love, when it doesn't mean something to you and you're handed everything, it's not fun to do those kind of things. So we kind of wanted to show them, hey, let's go out here and let's just have some fun.
Right. 62-7, Reinhardt gets the win. They're a top 5 team in the country. Mid-South Conference, you're going to have that kind of matchup week in, week out, because the Mid-South Conference is loaded. How do you get your team to respond after a game like that and bounce back and not take that and sit on that and that define the rest of your season?
Well, you can't let one game in 1 week define the way that you're going to play the rest of the season. You got to be able to press the reset button. We have to do it all the time as defensive staff and tell the players on the sideline. I mean, there's been times this season or last season that we've given up a long ball or somebody's made a mistake, and you got to come over the sideline and hit the reset button. It's the same thing in the season. You really just have to kind of reevaluate and know that that's not the team, the identity that you have as a team. So you just kind of rebuild it and you get the kids to rebuy back in.
The defensive line, obviously you want a lot of depth because Mid-South Conference is a tough run. You guys already have had a tough run. You want to develop depth there across the D-line because games are won in the trenches in the Mid-South Conference. Where is your unit compared to where you want it to be as far as developing that depth?
I think it's right on track. We have a lot of young players that are stepping into some roles and getting 10, 15 snaps a ball game that we need them to have, and they're coming along at the rate that you really want them to. They're starting to understand the little ins and outs and kind of compacting the training that they've had all through camp, and it's finally starting to have a light bulb hit for them.
Yeah.
And every defensive line will tell you, any college player will tell you, the light bulb goes off at some point in time in your career, and you want it to come on as early as possible.
And how tough is it coaching those young players to make the transition from high school D linemen who could just manhandle people to college D linemen who sometimes has to rely more on technique along with strength?
Right. I think the biggest thing is really showing them that they have to play every single play as hard as they would if they were going up against their worst enemy.
Yeah.
You have to really come out of there and fire off the ball and practice that way day in and day out, because you have to be in shape to do that in the game every single rep that you're in there. So trying to get their mentality around that and wrapped around that thought is kind of hard for them because they've never had to really do that. They can, the other team's kind of tired and they're working their moves the same way, and it's working. So why would I change it up? And then you have to show them that it's not going to work all the time.
Very good. Coach Susi, thanks for being with us. Good luck Saturday and the rest of the year.
Thank you very much.
Coach Andrew Susi, assistant coach of the defensive line for your U-Pike Bears. We'll step out when we come back. We'll be rejoined by the coach. Al Holland Jr. joins us as we'll preview Cumberland U coming up this Saturday. You're tuned to the Al Holland Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless, live from Buffalo Wild Wings. Welcome back to Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville. It is the Al Holland Show, where we're talking University of Pikeville Bears football. U-Pike on the road at Lebanon, Tennessee this Saturday, and we'll have complete coverage on Z1075 as the Bears take on Cumberland University. And Coach, back to basics this week, back to the fundamentals. What's the team's practice schedule? I've been asked before. What is the team's practice schedule on a typical Saturday week?
Monday's their off day, so that's the day to get caught up in the classroom. Most of the time, night classes, things like that. We'll have team meeting at 5 p.m. To go over film. And then Tuesday morning, we practice at 6 a.m. Most of the guys' first class is 9 a.m. And then they'll get a lift in throughout the day sometime whenever they got that hour and a half window, which normally it's about a 45-minute lift on a Tuesday. We come back and watch practice at 5 p.m., have devotion at 5:45 on a Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we're back at it at 6 a.m. It's another 6 a.m. practice. At some point, we'll sort of change it up and do a night practice, but early in the season, we'll do the 6 a.m. back-to-back, and the guys like that. Nothing else throughout the day, and then at 5 p.m. we'll watch film to get it critiqued. Thursday, you got a big window between Wednesday morning and Thursday evening's practice. We don't practice till 4:45 on Thursdays. So that way, the guys can get rested, extra treatment time, things like that. We can get some guys healed up and back into practice and getting ready to go for the weekend. And so Thursday is a 4:45 practice. Friday is our walkthrough day, and then we'll have film as well. Have our team movie on a Friday night, or it's a travel day like this week. We're traveling on the road, so we'll leave Friday morning to hit the road. And then, Saturday's game day for us. Normally about 9 a.m. we're up, walkthroughs, pregame meal. You always want to eat your pregame meal 4 hours before the game, and then try to get the guys ready, taped and dressed and treatment and things before the game. And then Sunday, normally what we do on Sundays, we come in and try to get some of that soreness out. So we'll get a light lift on a Sunday, and then we'll watch film, get it critiqued, put everything behind us, and get ready to go. Now, on top of all that, the guys have their classes, anywhere from 12 to 15 hours. Yeah. And then they have their study hall hours. And something, some of our guys not getting their study hall hours right now. So we're making a mandatory study hall on Tuesday, Thursday nights, from 7:30 to 9. And that way they get, the big portion of their hours out of the way right there as a group. And, so we're really challenging the guys to win the moment. And, we really talked about that this week, and everything we do, whether it's in the classroom, win the moment and taking notes, or whether it's on the practice field, win that rep, just win that moment and be a part of it. And if we take everything one step at a time, success will come and fall into place.
There you go. Cumberland U this Saturday. What do you know about them?
It's a good football team, big physical team. You know, we've been in overtime. I want to say me and Dan was talking 4 times. 4 out of the 5 times in school history of overtime games have been with them. And, you know, so they've been some barn burners that I've been a part of with them. And whether we've been ahead and they've came back or we've came from behind to tie it up to go to overtime. So they've been some great ball games in the past, and expect nothing less this weekend. They're a good football team. They've got 1 win on the season, but their record don't indicate how good this team is. They've got a lot of talent and a lot of older guys returning. And, you know, it seems like on different films they've had some guys out throughout the season, but they're starting to get some of those guys back this past weekend. Lost a little tough one this past weekend to Mississippi College on a last-second field goal. So, you know, they're a hungry football team, and they're playing at home. So, you know, they're going to be ready to go. But, you know, we got to focus on the Bears, and the Bears can't beat the Bears this weekend. So we got to be ready to go.
Very good. Real quickly, you mentioned treatment. At this point in the season, you'll have some players that are banged up. Talk about an injury report for this week.
You know, this past weekend, Jordan Olinger didn't play. We held him out. You know, so he's day-to-day trying to work him back in. You know, R.J. Gordon, we held out to a limited role this past weekend. We had a couple offensive linemen out this past weekend. Chase Richardson was out. Matt Benson made it back offensively for us, which Sonny is out for the season. And, you know, and defensively, you know, we've had some guys banged up. You know, Jack got banged up this past weekend, but, you know, back in practice, ready to go. And so, you know, them guys just continue to get treatment day in and day out, and we'll see where we stand come Friday before we make the trip.
And an off week coming up at the best time possible.
Yeah, that's right.
Coach Al Holland, good luck Saturday.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk again next Tuesday. You've been tuned to the Al Holland Show, talking U-Pike football live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless. Thanks for tuning in.